Hello everyone.
Hi there.
Today we want to talk about decision making and discernment of in our lives when there are things that you don't know offhand whether it's a yes or a no. So you have to go through a bit of a process to find out what it is that you feel you are led to do.
Mm, mm.
Um,
Yeah, there's been a,
request,
a request, a conversation around the issue in the
yeah.
past week. So we thought we'll touch on it again because we've done that somewhere in the past. But you discover also from practical experience that it is an ongoing process. There isn't a day going by where we don't make decisions.
Mm.
Actually, we're constantly deciding,
Yeah.
am I going to do this?
Am I getting up this morning?
Yes, yes. I don't think
I get up every morning.
you'll go through this whole process that we'll discuss now. But
Yeah.
but it's extremely important.
Mm.
The whole issue of discernment, decision making. One can go through life and stumble from the one occurrence to the next without making conscious choices,
Yeah, yeah,
and let life almost flood you.
yeah. Just happened to you.
That's right.
Yeah. But I mean, even then,
Yeah,
you will come to a fork in the road,
yeah,
and you will have to decide whether you're going left or right. It's usually not the case that you are just washed in a direction.
yes.
So even then, I think one can let things just go, and then something will force you eventually.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And when we are now talking about discernment and decision making, we touch or we use a lot of the terms or the phrases from Jesuit spirituality, Ignatian spirituality, for the mere fact that for some brilliant reason, Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuits, he really worked around discernment. He realized the importance of that, and he had a whole set of rules and methods almost that can help you in the discernment process. And he has written about it more than 500 years back, and in that sense, when you read it in the original, it is almost archaic. It is old terms and so on, but the
model and
the content,
yes.
the content is universal.
Yeah.
So you translate it in modern language, and they always say Ignatius was the first psychologist. He was really, he had an insight in the human psyche, and when he talked about discernment and decision making, it is so important that he tapped into the fact that it's not a matter of this thing is happening, God is letting this happen, or God is merely steering me in a direction. I have no say in this. God is the only instigator, the only force in this
for the that determines the outcome.
That's it.
Yeah.
But how God incorporates us, collaborates with us, taps into who we are as people. And for discernment, that's an extremely important aspect.
I think for me, and I think a definition of discernment would be to discover God's will for me. But I like to rather see it, or to rephrase it in terms of what is God hoping for me? What is it that God desires for me that He might already have put in me as a desire?
Yes.
So the desire that I have is as important for God as is my desire to please God.
Yeah.
So I think there's almost like a flow going there, and I think that is at the basis of discernment for Ignatius. Is it has to do with a relationship with God. So in terms of people living a life where they want to grow spiritually, where they want to deepen their relationship with God, I think the way to discern in big decisions is a way to make sure that they bring God into the picture.
Yeah. 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 And when we talk here about discernment and decision making, it's also important to reiterate the fact that this isn't about choosing between something that's good and something that's bad. That choice in general is easy. You know, this isn't going to be good for me if I do X, and this will be a very good decision if I decide on Y.
Yeah, and you might choose X.
Yes.
And go down that road.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, but this is more about choosing between good and better.
Yes. Yes.
So, and that's what makes it difficult, is that we don't really always know which one is the better.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it also implies that we really know ourselves.
Yeah, very important.
Because we need to know what our limitations are. We need to know what our boundaries should be. Say you're getting a job offer, and it's really something out of the blue, and you know that it's going to be 12-hour days, and there's a couple of questions that you can actually sit with in terms of your life and your relationship with God, your relationship with your family, and in what way this is going to impact on the trajectory of your life.
Yes, yes. And I think for that reason, it touches on so many issues when you really start looking at that, because it implies that you live with presence and awareness. It's extremely important. What is happening in me to be really in touch with? You receive an email regarding this. What is the feeling?
What happens in me? Am I excited? Am I actually going, oh, it's a heavy feeling? That's all very important pointers.
Exactly.
In the direction of where you want to go.
Yeah. So in other words, in the process of discernment, Ignatius talks of the movement of spirits. Now, we have all these language of what are the spirits. What he's merely saying is, something happens in me. Do I feel alive? Do I feel excited? Do I feel closer to God through this process? Or do I feel heavy? Do I feel separated from God? Do I feel depressed? All these feelings. So this movement that is taking place, that's what he's talking about. And an important thing that we should mention at this stage, which is a very practical instrument that can help us a lot, is what they call the prayer of examen. Where at the end of a day, you look back on your day and you ask yourself 3 questions, or you answer 3 questions. What was life-giving today? What was good? In other words, what gave me joy? The second thing, what was heavy? What drained me? What caused me discomfort? You look at that. And the third thing is, what do I wish for tomorrow? If I'm to ask God for something for tomorrow, what would that be? So it gets you in touch with these inner emotions. But over time, if you look at that, you can pick up a thread.
Yeah.
You can say, every time I am in a conversation with so and so, it's not good for me.
Yeah.
And then follow that trail. Is it personality clashes or whatever?
It can even be something like what you've been eating.
Yes.
Every time I have gluten, I don't feel well.
Yeah.
You know, it can be very simple things in your life
Yeah.
that has an impact on your general well-being.
Yeah.
So it's about your well-being and what makes you feel alive, what makes you feel healthy.
Yeah.
So I also think a thing that is often difficult is that you get a job offer. So it's like a door opening.
Mm.
And then often we will just say, well, I have to accept it because the door opened.
Mm.
And I'm not so sure that we should just blindly go on that
Trajectory.
or on that premise that is necessarily. It might be that God is giving you an opportunity to really look at what you would like to do, what you would like, or what you see yourself capable of doing, and to practice that, to set your boundaries, to know that this is not it. This is a door opening, but this is not it. So we must also be careful to just, because something opens up and everything in us goes, oh, but it's an open door. So be aware of what is happening inside of you. So an open door, what looks like an open door, but with inside of you a heaviness, a feeling of this is going to be too much for me, or is something to take notice of.
That's it.
On the other hand, I think that once you start in a discernment process with God and you talk to God about this thing that you have to decide on, it might be, and you can actually ask for confirmation and then be open to what comes your way. And you will definitely get confirmation if you enter into that process with God. So, and that might look also like the opening of a door, or of insight coming into you that you didn't necessarily were even thinking about. You just wake up with some insight. And that is very, very good to be aware of.
And in this whole process, it can be very helpful to have somebody that you can talk to, a spiritual director, a very good friend, somebody who understands and knows you.
And that wants the best for you.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Because they can help you sometimes, especially if it is big decisions and there's a lot of options and it is not as simple to find something. We get so tangled up with possibilities and options that somebody can just help us to stand back a little and say, you know what, from previous experiences, this tends to be not good for you.
And I think also personalities differ. So some people are quick decision makers.
Yes.
And other people take a long time or a too long a time to make this. So also to know yourself in terms of that.
Yes. Am I impulsive?
Yeah. And should I be aware of that?
So build in methods just to balance that.
Yeah.
And say, all right, I'm looking at all the options. If I'm a procrastinator and I take so long in weighing possibilities and options that I never go
if you actually lose the
opportunity, then it can be that you set yourself a time limit or just to fasten the process in terms of that. So to know ourselves in that sense also.
Yeah. And just quickly maybe, Ignatius talks of 3 times of decision making.
Yeah.
So the first one is you just know.
Yeah.
There is no doubt. You just know that this is the thing that you should do. That's the first. The second one is where you actually discern by talking to God, by looking at the options, by really sitting with it and giving it time to also help you to feel what you are feeling about this. what is this movement inside of you.
Mm.
The third one is where you don't have that time, where there's maybe a time limit. You have to decide, and you've pressured to decide.
Mm.
And then he gives a bit of a more technical way of going about it, which is very logical, really. It's like taking all the options and doing a pros and cons list of each of the options. And often that will also help you to feel what you're feeling. When you're going through the pros, there might be excitement, but the cons will make you feel so heavy that it weighs so heavy on you that you know that's not it. And then the second one is to actually just live in that. If you have two options, just live a little bit in your mind, the two options.
Imagine.
Your imagination, just and see what it feels like to be in that place. So it's just a couple of things to look at, but it's very important to tie it up, to be aware of what it is that you truly desire, what is the not negotiables in your life, and to also look at that, because God wants that for us.
And one realizes that in all this, God is, whether it's in decision making, whether it is in a discernment process, in all aspects of life, it boils down to God leading us to a more intimate knowledge of ourselves, and guiding us. So even if the decision in the end is something that you have to revisit and work with that again, even if the process just helped you to understand yourself better, it is a good process.
Yeah, so no, even a wrong decision, if there's anything like that, is something that you can learn from and that you can turn back. You can, when you are on a road that you've chosen, and at some point you realize, but this is not it. This is, I might have thought, or I discerned, but this is not going the way that I thought it would be going. You can always turn back. You can always turn around. You're not going back to the beginning, because you've already gained more self-knowledge.
Hope it helps. We're constantly busy with discernment processes, as we are sure you as well. But the feedback is always very nice, and it gives us themes to talk about. And we love doing that.
Have a good week, everyone.
Keep well on that side.
Bye.
Bye-bye.